This is a certified hood classic.
Family, we back, man. We back with another video. Shout out to my boy Blooms, man, because that boy channel didn't bloom last time. Man, for real though, my boy channel didn't explode, man. I just love seeing people win, bro. So he got a new video, South Park's most polarizing episode, man. So you already know if it's about South Park, you know your boy got to check it out, man. Y'all do your boy a favor, hit the like button, go down below, subscribe to your boy. Also check out the Patreon, only $3 a month, man. We got Archer, we got Futurama over there, man. We got Dragon Ball Z Super, and man, we got so many things and full episodes of South Park, man. You can binge watch all those episodes for $3 a month, man. $3, my boys. All right, let's get started.
If there's one thing I've learned about South Park fans, it's that they tend to be pretty passionate about their favorite episodes. And by pretty passionate, I mean really, really passionate. And as someone who has shared their opinion on—
Yeah, no, facts, bro. People get a, you know, what I did, definitely what nigga said, what I did, just, anyways, fumble mouth ass. Look, what I'm trying to say is people are very passionate about a lot of things on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? If it's their favorite character, their favorite artist, their favorite video, their favorite YouTuber, man, they get very passionate. They get downright disrespectful to your ass, man.
Literally every episode of the show to millions of people. You could imagine that occasionally I might make some people a bit upset with my opinions.
Yeah, occasionally.
And by occasionally, I mean every single time.
Exactly.
One thing I've discovered in my time sifting through comments telling me to off myself is that South Park is unique to almost any other show in its lack of unanimous fan opinions. With most shows, there are at least a few episodes that the fan base will designate as being the worst or best. Obviously, there's always going to be the people that disagree, but for the most part, there's a general consensus on these episodes.
Right.
This is not the case with South Park. It doesn't matter how bad you think an episode is, there will always be a substantial group of people who would rather die than admit that it's not the best episode in the entire series.
Yeah, I did not like that Jehovah Sore episode. I don't know. Some people said that they liked it. I didn't, and that was the one with the jack-offs. Some people said that they like it. I personally did not, bro.
So in general, South Park opinions are already very polarizing. Despite this, the comments on my ranking video have made me aware that one particular episode still manages to stand out for just how incredibly polarizing it is. With this particular episode, I don't think I've ever seen a neutral opinion on it. It seems like everyone thinks it's either an episode crafted by the Lord himself to be the funniest thing ever created, or it's the work of an evil satanic being who created it solely to declare that the show will never be funny again.
Looking at
By now, you may have guessed what episode I'm referring to. I know many of you—
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it was gonna be the episode with Pip. I can already see.
You have been waiting for this, and after really thinking
it's
it
not
over,
really that
discussing
bad.
it with my closest friends and family, talking to a lawyer, and studying every single opinion online, I think now is finally the right time to talk about it. That's right, it's finally happening.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that he's talking about it, but I just want to say real quick before he starts, you know, I after rewatching it again, I realized that it wasn't the worst. I mean, see, here's the thing. You could say something that's the worst of something else. They're not necessarily saying that it's a bad thing, but just like if you have to rank the best episode, I'm sure a lot of people would have a lot of opinions on what the best is. But then when there comes to, it's like a yin and yang. When there comes to the best, there also is going to be a worst. You get what I'm saying? And it just, I guess those words are very harsh. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, you got a lot of people that like things and they don't want to feel like they're in the minority of liking something, you know? So I get it. But that episode was just very different. It was very different from regular South Park. I didn't quite understand why Pip got a backstory, and maybe that was what it was. I didn't really quite understand why this was like a medieval kind of thing, and we were meeting all these new characters, and we, you know, it just, I didn't get it the first time watching it, and so I immediately labeled it as a bad episode. But upon watching it again, it was kind of funny, right? It was kind of funny.
The most polarizing episode of South Park is I Should Have Never Gone Ziplining.
Oh, I'm thinking it was the Pip. Oh, you got me.
I really think I was going to talk about that episode, right?
You got me.
There's nothing polarizing about it. It's an objective fact that if you think it's a good episode, you're wrong and you shouldn't be allowed to have opinions. And I'm sure as hell not going to spend a whole video proving it. Actually, I'll tell you what. If this video gets 50,000 likes, I'll make an
Okay.
entire video doing a deep dive into the episode and the character.
Okay, we gotta
Fortunately
like
for my
that
mental
video.
health, that will not happen, and I will never have to talk about this little French kid ever again. Tangent aside, we're going to talk about the season 16 episode, I Should Have Never Gone Ziplining. It's fascinating to me just how divisive this episode is, and I wanted to figure out why. Why do people love it? Why do people hate it? I needed to figure out which group has the correct opinion and which group is full of brain-dead illiterate buffoons
Okay.
that have invalidated all of their future opinions, because as we all know, that's how opinions work nowadays.
Pretty much.
And
Pretty
of course,
much.
it's common knowledge that all of the best opinions on the internet come from two places, Twitter and Reddit. So after hours of research and
Definitely got the most opinions on them sites.
a noble sacrifice from all of my brain cells, I think I found the answer.
Good.
So, with the intro out of the way, let's get into it. This is a deep dive into South Park's most polarizing episode.
All right. Part 1. Let's check it out. What's that? A trip from hell? Shit.
Let's start by breaking down what exactly happens in this episode. From the first few seconds, it's immediately clear that this is not your typical South Park episode.
Okay.
There's a dramatic montage of the boys seemingly in danger, along with a narrator describing their trip from hell. It ends with a title card and a disclaimer stating that it's a true story.
Okay.
Now, if you get what this is referencing, that greatly improves your odds of enjoying this episode. If not, well, you may be out of luck. It's a parody of a show that ran from 2005 to 2012 on the Discovery Channel called I Shouldn't Be Alive. Basically, the show would tell the
What?
story of a person or group of people who got stuck in the wilderness and survived in some crazy situation. It recreated the scenarios with actors and included interviews with the survivors discussing what happened.
Wow.
It was a
that's
pretty
kinda
entertaining
dope.
show, assuming you enjoyed hearing stories about people fighting off bears and their best friends dying from hypothermia.
Damn.
That was a pretty good portion of the show.
Damn, boy, that's pretty fucked up, man.
As a young child, I loved the show. I loved how dramatic it was and how certain survivors wouldn't be interviewed until the very end, so you never knew if they made it out until the story was over.
Okay.
It was one of those shows that I'd watch if nothing good was on the kids' channels, like when Nickelodeon decided to play Fanboy and Chum Chum for hours on end. Yeah, even as a 10-year-old, I would rather watch people forced to amputate their own limbs than watch that show.
That's fucked
And now
up.
as an adult, I think I'd rather amputate my own limbs than watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have cable as a kid, but I looking at shows like that, I'd rather not fucking watch it either, bro.
But this episode
Watch
fully
Everybody
leans into
Loves
the
Raymond.
parody, including the dramatic camera work, the interviews with the survivors, and they even got one of the actual narrators from the show to do the narration.
4 young boys in Colorado are on a trip from hell.
We follow the boys as someone suggests that they go ziplining, and they decide to try it out. They're all in a great mood as they head to the facility, making fun of Kenny for having herpes, or sorry, a cold sore. When they
Okay.
arrive, they learn that they're going to be ziplining with a group of people, and their mood immediately shifts. The narrator then discusses the physiological responses their bodies have to dealing with a tour group, like how the brain has to work overtime to act nice and pretend to care about the other people. Things only get worse as they have to wait an extra 30 minutes for a late couple and force a smile once they arrive. Then comes the safety video, which is another 15 minutes of pure hell, followed by group members asking redundant questions about the video.
Could we review the best ways to hold the rope again?
No, bro.
Really?
Yeah, that
You're gonna
pissed
make
me
us
off
all
too.
listen to it again because you couldn't understand? Really?
Finally, they leave and the boys are excited to start ziplining, only to have their hope crushed when they realize that they have to take a 45-minute shuttle ride to the top of the mountain.
Oh,
His brain
God.
is already lacking excitement, and now just the word shuttle makes Kyle's brain fire neurons that bring up memories of just how lame shuttles can be.
Yeah.
Along the way, they are forced to talk with the rest of the tour group, including a man who tells a riveting story about his life. He continuously repeats that he's making a long story short, despite the fact that he does not, in fact, make a long story short, as it continues for the entire ride.
Well, my name's Pete Nichols, and this is my wife, Donna. And, make a long story short, you know, make a long story short, and that's
Oh,
it,
hell
you know.
no.
Long story short, we just,
Meanwhile,
Hey, Cartman had enough. He got fed the fuck
we
up.
get a look into the disaster brewing within Cartman's stomach, as the fast food he's consumed combines with the massive amounts of Mountain Dew he's drinking, creating
no.
a deadly gas. When they finally arrive at the first zip line, a member of the group asks about the biology of the trees in the area, further crushing the spirit of the boys.
on.
When Cartman finally rides the zip line, he relays to the rest of the boys that their biggest fear has come true.
Oh, really? Yeah, dude, it's boring as shit.
And as if it couldn't get any worse, they realize that they have to wait for everyone else to ride the zipline as well. And then, the unthinkable happens.
This is a zipline tour. We got 16 more to go.
And it was like, wham!
They got a zip line tour, bro, so they got other zip lines that they going to. That's fucked up, man. You 40 something minutes listening to somebody bitch and moan about shit that you don't care about, and then you gotta fucking go on something that's boring. It's like, damn, why did I even choose to do this? Can't even stay up there and get left in the woods.
Their nightmare is far from over. This is likely the second major part of the episode that split fans, since it's another reference to a rather niche experience. Anyone who's been ziplining or has ever just been on a guided tour like this would understand just how underwhelming and annoying they can be, but if you haven't, you wouldn't be able to relate to this episode at all.
Right,
The boys start calling for help, but no one is around to hear. Kyle and Cartman argue over whose idea was to go in the first place, not realizing that it was Stan's idea all along. If you didn't find their ziplining boredom to be funny in the first place, you're not gonna like this episode, since it continues like this for the next 10 minutes. They add different elements, like Cartman switching to drinking the legendary Double Dew, which has double the amount of sugar and caffeine as normal Mountain Dew, causing his intestinal nightmare to worsen. They eventually stop for lunch, where they have a wide array of delicious options.
We got turkey,
Oh no.
ham, turkey ham.
Cartman then switches to drinking Diet Double Dew. Double Dew with only half the sugar and caffeine of regular Double Dew. But his condition continues to worsen.
That boy about to shit on himself, boy.
Stan tells the tour
That's what he
guide that
about
they
to
have
do.
a medical emergency and need to leave, but the only way down is ziplining. Stan discovers that there's a horse ranch nearby, and they ask to take the horses down the mountain, and the rancher agrees. They think that
Why
they
would
are
he do
finally
that?
saved, but these feelings quickly fade when they realize that they'll be with another tour group on horses that travel only 4 miles an hour.
Oh my.
They are trapped in a never-ending purgatory of tour groups, turkey ham sandwiches, and long story short. Kyle begins to fade, and Stan decides that he's gonna find a way out of here. He finds a marina nearby and tells the boys that they can take a boat back to town. As if this episode wasn't bizarre enough already, when the boys get on the boat, it suddenly switches to live action, with actors playing the roles of the boys.
Oh, God.
This is the final major point that
I've never seen this episode. I've never seen this episode. I guess we'll get there sometime on the channel, but wow. You said they got live action people? Boy,
likely
hell
split
no.
viewers' opinions, as it is so absurd and
Ugh.
stupid that it's either hilarious
You're kidding.
or just incredibly stupid. They continue with the same jokes about how bored they are, but in an even more serious tone since the actors are so overly dramatic. Kyle comes up with an idea to share the Mountain Dew that Cartman's drinking, and in doing so, everyone gets herpes from Kenny.
No.
When they check on Kenny, they learn that he's died from boredom.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny. You bastards!
Kyle and Cartman once again argue about whose idea it was, until Stan finally confesses that it was his idea to go ziplining. He reveals that by signing up 3 friends, he got a free iPod Nano. They all cry as they accept that they will be stuck there forever, but their prayers are finally answered when a certain someone swoops in to save the day.
You came for us, Mr. Hanky! Thank you, Mr. Hanky.
Howdy ho,
What?
boys. Let's get you back home.
That's disgusting. That's just disgusting, bro.
After an absolutely grueling 4 hours in the wilderness, they are saved by Mr. Hanky. We get a montage of how their lives have changed since the incident, with Kyle spending 27 days in the hospital, Cartman continuing to drink Diet Double Dew, and Stan dedicating his life to raising awareness of the risks of ziplining.
His awareness videos became so popular that Stan once again ended up jacking it in San Diego.
You don't get too famous, bro. You're gonna end up naked on the boulevard whacking it. That's fucked up.
So now that we fully understand what happens in this episode, kind of, I mean, I'm still a little lost on some parts, let's try to figure out why the public opinion is so split. Let's start with the obvious. This is one of the most unique episodes in the entire show.
Right.
It's incredibly experimental and bizarre, as it adheres so strictly to the format of the show that they're parodying. Obviously, they've done similar things in the past, but never quite to the extent of this one. Anytime a show dramatically changes its style, there's always going to be mixed opinions about it, and regardless of your opinion of the episode, it takes a lot of courage to take a risk and make an episode that switches it up as much as this one, and I think that's commendable. kinda like the last video I made. It's a comprehensive history of mega tsunamis and how scary they are, and I think it's a really good video you should check out. Sorry for the self-promo. But as we all know,
Hey,
people
it is
tend
what
to
it
not
is,
like
bro.
change, and especially with a show
Do your
like
thing.
South Park that has had such a consistent formula for literal decades, you could imagine that a lot of people don't take kindly to such a sudden change.
Yeah, it's hard to introduce something new to people, you know, because it's like, you know, you got some people that just don't want the change and some people that are okay with the change. And then you got some people that just, unless it's something that like people been complaining about, and you finally change it, and then they're like, oh yeah, this is amazing because they've been wanting to change. If they're not ready for the change and you have to spring something new on them, yeah, it really never goes over well initially. But after a while, I feel like people adapt to it, especially if you stick to your shit. You know, you're like, oh, no, this is what it is. I think a lot of people adapt to it, and the ones that don't just say, all right, fuck it, this is not the place for me.
Another
You know,
big
I get
factor
it.
in this
I get it.
divisiveness is the parody itself. As I previously mentioned, the entire episode is a parody of I Shouldn't Be Alive. Parody in South Park has a rocky history, with some of the best and worst episodes being direct parodies of something. The tricky thing about committing an entire episode to a parody is that the humor can't just be referential.
Right.
What I mean by that is it needs to be funny even if you don't get the references. An episode that did this right is the Lord of the Rings episode, whose name is way too long. When I first watched this episode, I had never seen Lord of the Rings, but it was still one of my favorite episodes because it doesn't rely on references to be funny.
Right.
If you have watched Lord of the Rings and get the references, it makes the episode even funnier. But if you haven't, it's still a funny episode. It's also one of the most popular franchises in history, so chances are you've seen it. This episode, on the
I
other
haven't seen
hand,
it.
parodies a somewhat niche show. And while it was still popular at the time, it's definitely no Lord of the Rings. If you have seen the show and watched this episode, you'd know that the parody is spot on, and that alone is probably enough to enjoy it. But if you haven't seen it, all the jokes that are referencing the show, things like the narrator repeatedly saying a trip from hell, the x-ray shots explaining what's happening to the body, the interviews, the updates on the survivors, and the overly dramatic music and camera work, would be totally lost on you.
Right.
These are
I
some
feel
of the
that.
funniest parts of the episode, and if you don't get it, there's a pretty good chance you just find this episode boring.
I get it. It's just, you know, I'm not going to say it comes down to intelligence because it's not being intelligent watching TV or knowing a TV show. But I get it, though. It just comes down to, like, man, if you've seen it, then it's cool. You know, it might be funny. And then if you haven't seen it, then it's not. And I get it. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen this episode, so I can't really say if my full opinion on it. Like, oh, yeah, you know, I fuck with this or I don't. I can't really say that. But from me seeing it, I could just kind of see that it doesn't follow the same format. And, you know, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I definitely like the part where it got to the boys when they were like, you know what I'm saying, like an IRL, you know what I'm saying, in real life type shit. I think that's interesting. I always kind of enjoy little crossovers like that. They did it really good when they actually did it, that like the little ass kids. I think it might have been a little better if they had kids on there, but hey, whatever.
Obviously,
You know what I'm
that's
saying? I ain't
the
gonna pick
point
it
since
apart.
they're so bored from ziplining, but it's only funny if you get that they put this boring, low-stakes situation into a format that's normally used for dramatic life-or-death situations. And that brings us to our next point, relatable humor. Relatable humor is very similar to parody in that if you don't relate, it's not funny. After watching a lot of South Park, there are times when it's obvious that Matt or Trey recently experienced something and decided to make an entire episode about it. Personally, the switch to live action makes it clear that gross out humor should be left in animated form, because it's a lot harder to watch with real people. The ending with Mr. Hanky coming to save them is completely random and unrelated, but again, the enjoyment will come down to how you felt about the absurdity of the
Right,
live
I
action
can
segment in
see.
the first place.
You bastard!
I think all of them having herpes is kind of nasty. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, to see. Nasty to see. Like, all of them having herpes outbreaks is nasty.
Bastard, stand!
Right and wrong.
To summarize this episode in simple terms, it's weird. There are so many different factors that contribute to whether you'll enjoy it or not, and the combination of these factors is what makes it seem like everyone either loves or hates this episode. If you like all three main factors, you love it. If you like one or two of them, maybe you like it, maybe you don't. And if you don't like any of them, you hate it. When you break it down like this, it's clear to see why it's so divisive.
Yeah, I can see.
So now that we understand why everyone feels the way they do, it's time to decide who has the correct opinion. Obviously, this will be a reflection of my own opinion, since my opinions are always correct.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
Do I think I Should Have Never Gone Ziplining was sent down from the heavens by God himself to be the funniest piece of media ever created? Or
No.
did it rise from the depths of hell to end comedy for all eternity?
I want to go on a limb to say that he's going to have a neutral stance. I don't think he's going to choose one extreme.
Well, to put an end to this debate forever, in my incredibly important and objectively true opinion, yeah, it's alright. Mid-tier episode.
The build up for nothing. Hey man, shout out to Bloom, man. Man, shout out to my boy Bloom, man. Another really good video. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Like after seeing Bloom's video about it, I mean, you know what's crazy? It doesn't make me want to run to go see the episode. Like I remember hearing about Imagination Land. You know what I'm saying? For example, I heard about Imagination Land, and the first thing I could think of is, damn, I want to go watch that. There was like a part 1, part 2, part 3. Yeah, I can't wait to go watch that. We should watch that with the fam. This is not something that I'm like, oh yeah, man, I can't wait to watch that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like one of those, okay, cool. If we get to it, we get to it. Like, and that's just my opinion after watching that. And it might change. It might change when I watch the video. You know what I'm saying? It might be more entertaining. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not Bloom's job to show us the most entertaining parts of the video. It's Bloom's job to talk about it and give us a good objective opinion about it, and backed up with facts, and just, you know, just really what he thinks. And you know what I'm saying? So shout out to Bloom for that. And I'm just interested to I'm like midway. I'm interested to check it out, but I'm not really like jumping up and down looking forward to it. I don't know. It's just, that's such a weird thing. But y'all, thank y'all for checking out the video. Make sure you go check out the Patreon. It's only $3 a month, man. And like I said, we got all kinds of great episodes on there, full videos, man. No cutting and no skipping. Love y'all. Be safe.